first grade, and happy St. Patrick's Day. Today we're going to be reading St. Patrick's Day in the Morning by Eve Bunting and illustrated by Jan Brett. Jamie wakened early and remembered that it was St. Patrick's Day. He climbed carefully over his big brother, Kevin, and his bigger brother, Sean. The stairs were cold on his bare feet. The kitchen was cold too. The fireplace, full of dead ashes like chalk. Nell, the sheepdog, lay on the rocker. "Here, Nell!" Jamie tried to snap his fingers the way Sean did. Nell uncurled herself from the cushions. Jamie sat in the warm spot where she'd slept. St. Patrick's Day in the morning. The green sashes were laid out on the table. The big one with his dad's. The next biggest was Sean's. The next biggest was Kevin's, and their fringes were crusted with gold. There was no sash for Jamie. "It's not fair, Nell," Jamie said. "I want to walk in the parade too. They say I'm too small, that I couldn't get to the top of Acorn Hill, but what do they know?" Jamie slid off the chair. His mother's raincoat hung behind the door. He put it on. He put on his dad's black hat and Sean's sash. He took Kevin's flute from the dresser. "Come on, Nell," Jamie said. Outside, the mountains were green as cat's eyes. Clouds hung in tatters around their tops. "Head up, chest out," Jamie said. "Follow me." They marched down the street. None of the chimneys were smoking yet. Milk bottles stood on the front steps, waiting to be let in. That tells me that this part of the story is taking place really early in the morning. Kit and Kelly's donkey put their head over her gate. "A happy St. Pat's to you, donkey sir," Jamie said. He lifted his hat the way his dad did to ladies. Could you imagine having a donkey as a pet? It'd be a pretty cool pet to have. The sky was the color of Mother's pearl brooch, the one she wore on Sundays. Jamie marched down the middle of Main Street, past the shuttered shops. The brooch is a little pin that you might wear on your shirt if you're trying to be super fancy. Barney the baker was a white blur behind his window. There was a whiff of bread baking. Nell turned her head towards the smell and drooled. Do you think that means she likes the smell of the bread or doesn't like the smell of the bread? "Come on, Nell," Jamie said. Hubble, the henman, trundled his wheelbarrow along the footpath. His eggs were piled in it, all brown and white. "Good morning to you," Jamie said. "I see your hens are laying well." "It's the sweet corn and the sweet talk I feed them," Hubble said. "Pick yourself an egg, Jamie." Jamie took a brown one off the top. It's still warm from the hen. "Happy St. Pat's," Jamie said, and lifted his hat. He put the egg safe in his pocket. What do you think he's going to use the eggs for? Maybe we'll see. Jamie and Nell walked under the arches that spanned the streets. Jamie wet the end of the flute with his spit like Kevin did. Then he blew on it, and oh, the sound it made! He puffed his cheeks, his fingers danced across the wind holes. Nell howled and put her tail down. Silly Nell, what did she know? Mad old Miss Mulligan threw her window open and leaned out. "Save us all," she yelled. "It's a terrible noise you're making, Jamie Donovan." She banged her window shut. That mad old Miss Mulligan. And what did she know? Miss Mulligan's big red rooster cock-a-doodle-dooed from the roof. His wattle rattled and Nell howled again. It was as good as a chorus to go with the music. Jamie was sorry there was no one to hear but mad old Miss Mulligan. She probably could have told him to be quiet in a nicer way. That was pretty disrespectful and rude. It was a hard climb up Acorn Hill with all Jamie's breath going into the music. He better save his strength for the marching. He put the flute over his shoulder and stepped out. Mrs. Sims of the halfway up sweet shop leaned her half door. "You're the early ones," she said. "Come on in, Jamie. You could likely use some refreshments." That's nice of her to offer him a drink. Jamie's head came to the level of Miss Sims' counter. Bottles of ginger ale stood on it. When he looked through them, everything was orange. Mrs. Sims gave him a bottle all for himself. She gave him a bun with a cherry on top, too. Nell let her tongue stick out and begged nicely. Miss Sims threw her 2 jelly beans. Jamie ate his bun. He put the ginger ale bottle in his other pocket, the one that wasn't carrying the eggs. It's probably a good idea. You put them in the same pocket, it might break. "Here's a wee flag for you too," Mrs. Sims said. "You can wave it later on at the parade." Wee means small. Jamie sniffed, and Mrs. Sims was nice. But what did she know? Wasn't this the parade? This very minute? With him in it? He took the flag anyway. "We'll have to be getting on, Mrs. Sims," he said. "We're a brave bit still to go." "Aye," Miss Sims said. "You'll be saving a good place for yourselves for the watching." Jamie nodded. "Come on, Nell." So do we think the parade is actually going on right now? Is he actually in the parade? I noticed there isn't anybody else marching with him. And usually in parades, there's more than one person. The flute was getting awfully heavy on Jamie's shoulder. He held the flag out in front of him. It was a very small flag, but it felt heavy too. "Don't be giving up now, Nell," Jamie puffed. "We're nearly there." They turned the sweep of Acorn Hill, and they were there. Jamie stopped. "Look, Nell." In front of them was the field where the bands would be, and the stage for the Irish dancing. There was a green ribbon around the platform to keep the people off. Jamie crept under it. He sat right in the middle of the stage, and Nell laid beside him. The sun was coming up. I think that ribbon might have been there to keep people out. I don't think he was supposed to go underneath it. Jamie took the cap off his ginger ale and drank. He poured some in his hand for Nell. And all of them were saying, "I was too small," he said. "What do they know?" The sun jumped up like a firecracker from behind the mountain. "Happy St. Pat's to you, son," James shouted. The words made a great shimmer of sound in the emptiness. So I noticed that they said the sun jumped up like a firecracker from behind the mountain, meaning the sun was rising into the sky. So if the sun hadn't been up yet in the beginning of the story, that tells me that I was right before when I predicted that this was taking place early in the morning. So he did a lot, really early in the morning. Jamie pushed Nell's head from his knees and stood up. The last drop of ginger ale was gone from the bottle. He stuck the green and yellow flag in it. Then he put the bottle right in the middle of the stage. See? He told Nell. That means we were here first. We did it no matter what they said. Now we can go home. It was easy going down Acorn Hill. There was nothing to it at all. It's much easier to go downhill than to go up the hill. The town was waking up. Some of the chimneys were smoking. The milk bottles had been let in, but Jamie's own house was still asleep. Oh, forgot to show you. He opened the back door. The clock tick-tocked. The turf ashes lay in their little white drifts. Jamie took off his mother's coat. He set Hubble's egg on the table. He climbed to the rocker, and Nell jumped beside him. So he put the egg on the kitchen table, which tells me he's probably going to eat it, or someone's probably going to eat it. I think that's what they might be doing with the egg. He laid the flute across his knees and closed his eyes. Oh, the music he'd made. They'd not hear the likes of it all day. And wait till they saw the flag. The mystery of it, the wondering where they'd be. They were feet coming down the stairs, but his eyes were too heavy to lift and look. Our Jamie, Kevin's voice said softly. Sound asleep, and with the sash and the flute, and our dad's black hat. Are you sad now? Are you not big enough to walk in the parade? Jamie kept his eyes closed and smiled. Silly Kevin. What did he know? Hope you have a great rest of your St. Patrick's Day. Bye, first graders. I miss you and I love you.